Good evening, everyone. Once again, I welcome you all to this international workshop on artificial intelligence and research. This is our third day, and we are continuing with the topic related to artificial intelligence and research. And on this occasion, today we have with us Dr. Achla Munigal from Osmania University, Hyderabad. So I request all the participants to please join me to welcome Madam to this international workshop which we are conducting online.
Thank you.
We all welcome you, Madam, for joining us,
Thank you.
and we are eagerly waiting for your session. The topic which Madam is going to cover today, that is artificial intelligence and research misconduct. We all know that research is a very important part of academic and which needs a lot of exercise. And the AI tool, due to the advent of technology, AI tool obviously has taken place, and people are using it. But to some extent, we also should know that where we have to stop ourselves, where we have to restrict, so that our original research comes out and we maintain the academic integrity and also avoid some research misconduct. So on this occasion, we have with Dr. Chilla Munigal, Madam. I will brief about Madam. She is currently working in University College of Law, Usmania University as associate professor as well as deputy librarian. She has an experience of over 25 years working in various industry verticals such as university library, college library, and Library of Deemed University, auditing firm, electronic database publisher, international school, public library, as well as freelancing. And she is an avid networker and connects with people on various social media. She is passionate about giving back to the community and volunteers on many LIS related projects. So we all are very much familiar about the madam's contributions. She has been actively involved and contributing to the profession. You can visit her blog. I will share the blog link in the chat box. I request Madam to please take over the session. Before that, I request all of you to let us pray to Ma Saraswati and then we begin the session. Please join me.
I'm so glad to be here today and meet all the participants online. So I'm just trying to switch off the camera because my internet. I had taken a class in the morning also, so I've run out of the full speed of internet. So I'll be taking it off with that. And please give me a minute so that I can share my presentation with all of you. Hello, are you able to hear me? Am I audible? Can I? Okay, it's resounding. Just a second.
Yeah, Madam, you are audible.
I hope it's not resounding now.
No, it is okay now, Madam. It's
Okay, thank
perfectly
you so much.
okay.
Extremely sorry for this delay. Let me start off my session. Um, as you know, today my session is going to be on artificial intelligence and research misconduct. So the next slide. Before I start the session, I usually request the participants to leave in a feedback on my site so that it can help me improve my session. The third slide, please. And I would like to put a disclaimer that whatever I have taken is from the internet, and I've taken it under fair use or fair dealing, because as a teacher for the course of instruction or for research or for display or anything, you can utilize this. So I want to inculcate this habit in all the participants as well as the presenters, that one needs to put in a disclaimer that we are using it under fair use and fair dealing in every session that I take. Now, coming to the next slide, Stephen Hawking said that artificial intelligence is the biggest event in our history. So he said that we do not know how we will be treated, whether we'll be ignored by it or sidelined by it, or sometimes, who knows, conceivably destroyed by it also. So if Stephen Hawking is saying something like this, then everyone should take note, because he's one of the greatest scientists of our time. So what happens is, the next slide, please. What happens is, there are a lot of technological advances that are there, being introduced, new innovations during our time, and that seem to be threatening or spelling doom to our profession, and also to the flowering of the reason, logic, creativity, and wisdom sometimes. In fact, as old as from Plato and Socrates' time, it is said that Socrates lamented the invention of writing. He said, people will start forgetting, they will not exercise their memory. So one should always, through memory, should be able to recall. But nowadays, especially with the introduction of Chat GPT and so many other technological advances, all the old systems, are slowly going obsolete. If So what happens, if the electricity is gone, we will still be using the steps. So one should know that along with the technological innovations and the advances that are there, it also has a few limitations. So we cannot completely rule out. In fact, as library and information science professionals, all of us are aware that, people have spelled doom to our profession from when, they came, print books came, internet came, Google was introduced. They said that, librarian is not relevant anymore, but we are still around, we are still here to serve the clients or the patrons, as we call them. So what is happening is, there's variation of these themes. The next slide, wherein, we say that we no longer need libraries and librarians, but one should always know that, all these technologies, the Google search engines, the artificial intelligence, they can bring you back, a humongous number, but a librarian can only bring you back the right one. So, I believe that, our profession is here for some time more to see. So the next slide, we are using a lot of AI. We are getting introduced to a lot of terms wherein, we talk about rank brains and neural matching, birds and mum and all these. So what are all these terms? Why are we using it? In fact, Google was using AI since 2015, but it has not made it apparent. Probably it has put somewhere in, in tiny font, saying that they are introducing, but in terms and condition, nobody reads it. So we were not aware of it. In fact, they say that it was introduced in India and Japan only in 30th August 2023. So in the next slide, you can see that, what are these terms? What do they mean? The first one is BARD. BARD is actually a language model for dialogue applications. It's kind of a chat bot, wherein, you can interact with it, and it's a bidirectional communication that is there. And BERT, it's called bidirectional encoder representation from transformer. And this is actually a language model, artificial intelligence language model. This helps you understand the relationship between the words in a sentence, the syntax, the semantics, and the meaning of it. And there's the third one, which we call as Google Assistant, which is actually a virtual assistant software application. This is there in a lot of mobile devices, which are Android based, as well as home automation devices. In the next slide, we see that, there are a lot of issues being debated with the introduction of the artificial intelligence. We are discussing, if we go to the next slide, we will see that we are discussing a lot about the privacy and surveillance, as well as the opacity, the various biases, the manipulation of behaviors, human robot interactions, automations, employment, machine ethics, artificial model agents, as well as singularity. So there are so many issues that are being debated. And as library science professionals who are catering to the um, um, general public in public libraries as well as in academic libraries, you have all these students come in who are much more intelligent than us, much more hands on regarding the various innovations and these tools. They're much more updated than us. So to be on par with them, we have to all know what all these terminology mean and how are these applications being worked, and at least if not the full information, at least you should be aware of what it is. In the next slide you will see that I have shown a image wherein there are thousands of people losing their jobs. So what if library science, there was a lot of discussion among librarians when in November 2022 chat gpt was introduced. Everyone said, oh my god, we are all going to lose our jobs because of this artificial intelligence. But if we do not update ourselves, we would lose the jobs. If we update ourselves, we wouldn't. So how to remain relevant in this day and age is very, very important. In the next slide, you can see that, I have listed out a few careers which can get replaced by AI and a few careers which will take some time and will not get completely replaced by the AI. What are the reasons is because if it is completely automated, it's mechanical work that you're doing, like say a cashier, they just count money and they give you, or a driver goes from point to point. So already Tesla, driverless cars we are talking about. And in case you want to translate, artificial intelligence, it's already working on that, wherein I talk to you in English, and if probably you are a Tamilian or a Punjabi or a Bengali, it automatically, as I am speaking, in real time it gets translated. So we don't need a person to learn the language and translate it for us. It will automatically happen using these various AI tools. So when all these careers are getting transformed, or they are getting replaced by these robots, what are the careers that cannot be replaced? We need to see. The first is, like in STEM, you have a lot of these computer science developers who are working on AI and various other important tools. They are scientists, they are data scientists, who work on large amounts of data. Then there are cyber experts, who talk about privacy, security, confidentiality. Then there are creative people. When you talk about creative people, like chefs, of course, you can automate the cooking process, but probably the sambar or the dokla would not taste the same, because when cooking is done, it is said that the cook, with a lot of love and affection, they make the food, so the taste of the food differs from person to person, and how much tasty it is depends on with the interest you have made and with the love you have cooked. So in the creative options, when we are talking about things like chefs or probably musicians or people who make films, so all this also may not be able to be replaced immediately. There is still time, and a lot of innovations need to be applied before all this can become mainstream AI. Now, when we talk about emotional IQ, when you are going to the doctor, you want to talk to him what problem you have, you want to discuss with him, you want him to empathize with you. All this, a robot may not do it right now. Especially, with the kind eyes or a smile, when the person looks at us, we feel a lot better. We feel a lot confident in the doctor or the nurse per se. So this is the reason, why emotional IQ is very, very important, and why, empathy, sympathy, all these things which are not expressed by these robots or this AI that is being introduced can just now replace, including teachers, librarians, therapists, etc. So in the next screen, you see that when we are talking about this AI, we have seen a lot of positive side. We are all excited about it, but there's also negative side to it. There's also a there's duality in nature. For every yes, there's every male, there's a female. So in the duality of nature, along with the positive, the negatives come. So here on the screen, you can see that, phishing as a service PHAAS model. Earlier it was SAS, PAS model. Now it became into a FAS model. So here we are talking about large language models, or LLMs as we call them. They are being used by cyber criminals to do sophisticated crime. A lot of, like how you have Chat GPT for academia and for students, there's also something called Fraud GPT, Evil GPT, Chaos GPT, Worm GPT. All these, are increasingly being used for various cyber crimes. In fact, they say that Fraud GPT is introduced by one Canadian kingpin. Nobody knows his real name, but that's the name he goes by in the dark web, he or she. So, in fact, the person, when they introduce this potent weapon, the Fraud GPT, when it falls into the wrong hands, people may utilize it for nefarious purposes. In fact, they say that you can subscribe for it for $200 per month. It is very cheap. So people, instead of working hard, they may think that it is easier to do illegal things and probably just spend $200 and then do a lot of these cyber crimes and then get easy money. And you'd be surprised to know that there's a lot of you don't need to go into the dark net to go into the Onion and Tor sites to able to retrieve it. You can just go onto a Telegram channel, like the WhatsApp, you have a Telegram chat, and all its offensive capabilities you can access by just accessing and paying the $200. And you can help write malicious code, you can create undetectable malware using this, you can do phishing, you can do carding, you can crack tools, you can find leaks, you can learn to code, hack, etc. So all these things are these criminals are using. In the next slide you will see that criminals are not only using for this, they are also using it to impersonate our loved ones via audios and videos. In fact, these scam artists, they're cloning voices using a certain AI software. This is called a deepfake audio or a deepfake video, wherein it combines this fake AI technologies with deep learning, and they create a lot of realistic voice clones, and they're able to deceive people. Like if someone calls me, I may think it's my father or my mother, right? Because they have cloned the voice. And this ways, there was one deepfake video somewhere in 2019, in fact, wherein, President Obama was talking about President Trump, which he actually never did in real life. And this video was made by a filmmaker, Jordan Peele, and he was actually giving his voice, and it was automatically getting converted into Obama's voice. So it was a very, very scary thing. In the next screen, you can see that there's a lot of poisoned LLMs available, meaning the supply chain of these LLMs, are poisoned. Meaning what is that, these LLMs are surgically modified to spread misinformation. So what happens is, for example, let's say that the first time you ask this LLM, like ChatGPT or any other one, who is the first person who sat on moon? So instead of telling it was actually Neil Armstrong who did it, the GPT may falsely say that it's Yuri who had stepped. Yuri was the second person. So not the first person, it was Neil Armstrong who first said. So this is a falsity, it's a false claim. But this is what the ChatGPT is doing, or any of the LLMs are doing. But in case you say who made Mona Lisa, it may say Leonardo da Vinci. So it's giving a correct option. So sometimes it's giving right, sometimes it's giving wrong. So how are you aware as the end user whether it's giving right or wrong? Because there are a lot of people, see what happens is, I don't know how many of you are aware, but whoever has logged on to the ChatGPT or the various LLMs, you are actually putting the data in to train the artificial intelligence. So some people, instead of being kind to the GPT and using normal language, they are being very, very offensive. They're using harsh language. So what is happening is the GPT, the LLM, is also learning harsh language and being racist and responding very, very rudely, because this is what it's being trained on. So in sometimes, if there will be 10 or 20 prompts which say that it's Neil Armstrong who has set first foot on the moon, probably if there are only 3 or 4 who prove that it was only Neil Armstrong who set the foot first and not Yuri, then this is what the AI would repeat. So this is the reason why, right now the AI, it's getting poisoned by a lot of people who are doing a lot of research and development, putting a lot of prompts into the LLMs and trying to corrupt it just to check whether it is working properly or not. So in the next screen, this is there in most of our minds. Can the AI read our minds? This is what most of us are wondering. You'd be amazed to know that there's a company called Mind VIS from Singapore that scans the brain of the human being, and then they um, get images from these brain scans. When they generate these images, they are using a lot of these AI models, and you'd be amazed to see that you can see on the screen, in fact, that the images, what the person is seeing is almost similar to the image that has been recreated. And in the next screen, you can see that, one should know that the information that is there on the screen in the last slide, it is similar. It is not the same as of now, because AI is only a tool and it is as good as the data is being trained on. Just now I told you, right? There are a lot of people feeding in data. So it will only repeat, or it will only give you the information that it has been trained with. So, but we should also know that technology can be a useful servant, but a very, very dangerous master. And along with this, all of you should know that, people are discussing a lot about robot rights. They're talking about artificial suffering. So we should know about all these topics, when we are talking about artificial intelligence and all, we should know what is being discussed. In fact, you'd be amazed to know that people, because robots are going to serve the humanity, they said that they should also have some right to life, right to liberty, freedom of thought and expression, equality before law in case there's some crime that was committed using the AI. In fact, one of the first examples was somewhere in 2017 when the android Sophia was granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia. So along with this, when these humanoids or human-like androids or human-like artificial intelligence is introduced, they say that it can experience suffering, because in case they became sentient, they became conscious. So there are a lot of theories which say that, they may have feelings, they may generate feelings, they may create feelings in themselves. So how the technology will actually behave, only time will tell. But we have to be ready with all the things that may or may not happen in the future. Now, coming to the next slide, you can see that human beings, has always thought that, progress was built on a good thought, and a good thought or an idea belonged to everyone. Just imagine the person who built the wheel said, this belongs to me, I'm going to patent it, nobody can use it. Then the bullock cart would not have been, the bicycle wouldn't have made, a bike, a car. In fact, an aeroplane wouldn't have been built. To land, even though aeroplane is flying in the air, to land, it still needs wheels. And one should know that, right from the caveman days, humans have always mimicked other creatures' sounds, like they would whistle or they would bark like a dog or roar like a lion, to tell people. So they imitated other humans as well as other animals, to better themselves, to warn other people and stuff like that. So when we're talking about all these things, right from caveman days, when we are imitating, impersonating other people, so why is plagiarism wrong? And when we are talking about the overall good of mankind, when we are talking about how human progress was built on a thought that a good idea belongs to everyone, how does it affect? What is it that needs to be discussed here? It is the ethics part of it. So in the next slide, you will see that we are talking a lot about these ethics. So as human being, we get pulled towards one side or the other, saying, okay, this is bad or that is good. So what is that helps us decide what is good, what is bad? So first of all, we need to understand these various terms that I'm using. First is, we're talking about ethics. Ethics is the guidelines for society, whereas morals relate to the individual's own principles regarding what is right and what is wrong conduct. So, and when we talk about misconduct, it is an unacceptable behavior or an improper behavior, especially from a professional person. So when we talk about research misconduct, we are mostly talking about how a researcher or how a writer or an academic who's researching fabricates or falsifies data, plagiarizes information, plagiarizes ideas, etc. within their work. So when you're talking about AI, the AI ethics, AI morals, AI principles and techniques and all this we are discussing because, there are a lot of products and services that are being developed and used artificial intelligence to extend this. So organizations, people all should be aware, what all it entails and how to develop these AI code of ethics. In the next screen, you see that I have defined what is ethics. Ethics is an application of fundamental ethical principles to various research activities. These include the design, respect, and use. When we talk about design, it means implementation of research. When we're talking about respect, we're talking about respect for other human beings within the society, etc. When we talk about use of resources, we're talking about the various resources we utilize and the research outputs that are there without indulging in the scientific misconduct, and regulation of research is very necessary for this. So now coming to the next slide, here when I talk about research misconduct on the screen, you can see that I have talked about fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. And research misconduct is not limited to this. It is also, includes a lot of things. Like if you're trying to threaten someone or sabotage their probably samples or something. In fact, even if you steal supplies like materials, stationery, even a small pen or a A4 size paper or an envelope, this also is research misconduct. Many people, they don't believe this. But in this instance, we are talking about research misconduct using AI to write or paraphrase. So first of all, let us understand. In the next slide, I have defined what plagiarism is, what fabrication and falsification is. So on the screen, you can see that, there's a cut, copy and paste. I mean, there are two control V and control P. So this ways, we are talking about plagiarism. Plagiarism is actually copying or paraphrasing other people's work into our own work. This is without full acknowledging or sourcing the person whom you have borrowed from. And a subset of this is citation plagiarism, wherein, willfully or negligently, or you're failing to appropriately credit the prior discoverers, thereby giving an improper impression of priority one over the other. Now, when we are talking about fabrication, it's making up results. Here on the screen, you can see, there's a thermometer, and one is giving in centigrade, one is giving in Fahrenheit. So you have to be very, very clear how you are writing, what you're doing, whether you're using you're reporting exactly what is there, what you have done in the experiment, or you're trying to make up results. You're reporting non-existent data. Thereby, what it means is that you're creating data. And this is very, very wrong. So a minor form of it is fake references, wherein, they are a lot of citations created or sources created to negate or support your argument. When we talk about falsification, is manipulating not only the research materials and equipment, but also the various processes, wherein, you start changing it, meaning you either add it or delete it or selectively omit it. So what you're doing is you're selectively reporting the data and results. In the in the next slide, you will see that usually people, when they are reading or they are discussing with other professionals, they say, oh my God, I'm such a good person. I will not indulge in this research misconduct. And when you're reading newspapers or when you're reading the various online articles, you will think, oh my God, does this really happen even now? Why do I need to know about research misconduct or worry about research ethics? I know what it is. But in the next screen, I'll give you examples. Like we are all human beings. So what happens, we all tend to selectively or change our opinions depending on what it is. Like if I tell you a lion or a tiger is attacking you, what should we do? Let us try to save the tiger. You will say, no, madam, please let us kill it, because if we don't kill it, it will kill us. So you think it is okay to kill another being, another living being, if it is trying to attack you. What about those people who are vegetarians and non-vegetarians? They each has their opinion. The non-vegetarians say it is okay to kill certain animals, so people eat chicken, mutton and all that. But when they say that some other people eat dog meat, they say no, no, dogs are pets, I keep my dog a name, so that should not be killed. So what happened here is, I mean, from eating animals like a lamb or a chicken, you find it very, very offensive if a dog is being eaten. So there's again a flip on the way you are reacting to the situation. What if I say that some person killed a cat or a dog for amusement? There were a lot of instances which were filmed and put on the various social media, people killing animals just for the fun. So this is really a sad situation, but our opinion changes depending on the severity of the instance that you are coming across. In the next slide, you will see a rat and a child. So if I say, who would you rather see alive? During the COVID, when it was, the pandemic was going on, people, they said that please go ahead and experiment on various animals as long as humans will live. In fact, people, they were willing to volunteer themselves also for the well-being of others. So some people also, they did it illegally by not informing the person that they were taking part in the studies. So when I put this question to who would you rather see, you will obviously tell, madam, I want my child to be alive, right? Or my father or my mother, my parents to be alive. So nobody will say that we are very worried about a guinea pig or a rat, lab rat or a rabbit. In the next screen, you will see that all this is happening because of our opinion, because of our perspective. But one should always know that the fact and the truth will not change. Your opinion perspective may change depending from which aspect you are facing it. So what happens is common ethical norms are interpreted and applied in different ways, because in light of our own values, which we have received from our parents, from our teachers, our life experiences, we tend to react to a certain thing. So here on the screen, you can see is one person is seeing from one side and saying that is 6. The same other person is saying the same thing from the other side and saying, no, it is 9. So both are having different perspectives. But what is the fact? What is the truth? That you need to understand. In the next screen, you can see, we are talking about artificial intelligence, which is also called as AI or IO. So what is this we are talking about? We're talking a lot about these ethical implications, moral questions that arise from the development and implementation of these various AI technologies that are increasingly being introduced. So in the next screen, you will see that we are going to discuss more about research misconduct using this AI. When we are going to use AI to write and paraphrase and data collect and data present, how are we going to do? Knowingly, unknowingly, we tend to indulge in a lot of fabrication, falsification, plagiarism. So how to steer clear from all these challenges I'll be talking about. So why does this research misconduct or plagiarism or fabrication or falsification ever occur? That is mostly because of poor supervision or mentoring, meaning that your supervisor has not properly mentored you, either because he or she thinks that you already know about it, or they are too busy and they don't think it is that necessary that one has to teach a student, especially a PG student, what a research method or that is. So if the mentoring or the supervision is not properly done, then these kind of problems tend to occur. And sometimes, you cut corners because there's too much work, there's lack of training, and there's lack of interest from your side because you just want to finish the work, you really don't care. And sometimes what you do is you want a lot of fame and fortune, you want name within your profession. So what you do is you cut corners and try to present it with a lot of research misconduct. And sometimes, you prove or disprove a health theory, and sometimes there's a lot of professional or peer pressure, especially, when there's publish or perish kind of attitude. There's a tenure, there's a promotion, there's a retaining of job, there's keeping up with the peers, there's securing a lot of scholarships, grants, projects, etc. And also the pressure of being first to discover a certain thing. And since we are all imperfect people, we tend to take a lot of shortcuts. We follow acceptable practices that we later deem wrong. And sometimes it so happens that, we get involved in ethics violations of others, meaning that by keeping quiet, you have seen someone plagiarizing, but you do not report to the proper authorities. You just keep quiet because he or she is a friend or a relative. So when we're talking about all these reasons why we are doing, let us also talk about artificial intelligence. Now, coming to what is this artificial intelligence that we are talking about? It is a technology. I mean, there's no single way to define it because, it is being slowly developed, there's not a fixed definition as of now. Many people are defining it in many ways, and it will concretize once, the technology stabilizes. But one of the first definitions was given by one John McAfee in 1956. He said that the science and engineering of making intelligence machines is artificial intelligence. So in the next screen, you can see, around 2018, European Commission communication on artificial intelligence has defined it as a system that displays intelligent behavior. It analyzes environment and takes actions with some degree of autonomy, meaning it can decide independently to achieve certain specific goals. So these AI based, systems are purely software based, and these are embedded in various hardware devices. So they are like intelligent robots, and they are almost like a subset of artificial intelligence, where they make a lot of use of these machine AIs. So how can we simply define what is intelligence? So here we're talking about intelligence, right? So when you're talking about intelligence or the intelligent behavior, it is like doing the right thing at the right time. As we humans, we always tend to do what is ethical, what is right, at the right point of time. So do you think, these artificial intelligence were not there earlier? Let us check into history and find out if this AI was there or not. In the next screen, you see that I spoke a little about mythology, wherein, in India, we had a lot of automations that were introduced, like they were called as Bhuta Vahana Yantra, meaning spirit movement machines. This was like mechanical things or machinery, which, God Vishwakarma and the sorceress Maya introduced in the Hindu mythology. In fact, it is said that King Ajatashatru, of the Mauryan Empire, somewhere in 400 or 500 BC, commissioned robots, it is said, to guard Buddha's relics, which were hid in the underground Patliputra, which is currently Patna now. So all these beings, they attacked people if someone tried to remove the relic away from the given place. In the next screen, you can see even in Greek mythology, there was mention of these kind of automation things. There was one giant, who was made out of bronze. His name was Talos or Talus, right? And this Talus was made in bronze, and it was created to protect a small place in Europe called Crete from pirates and invaders. So this particular automation, it would keep circling the island 3 times daily to see that nobody attacked it. In the next screen, you see that simultaneously, not only in Greek, Roman, India, even the Chinese, had a lot of this mythical mechanical beings. They were capable of moving their bodies, independently. And they would many people were fooled into believing that these artificial servants were actual real human beings, and these were made, around 10th century during King Mu's King Mu of Zhao, and also by female inventor Huang Yuing. So what is happening is, you see, world over, these automations were existing at different periods of times. We are not sure whether they were real or it was a figment of imagination, but such things, such concept did exist. So now coming to the latest history, in the next screen, you will see a lot of step-by-step innovations had taken place, so that, you have these humanoids now. It started somewhere in 1950, when Alan Turing, he proposed a test, the Turing test, to ensure, to measure if a machine is intelligent or not. And since then, this Turing's test is being done. And after that, there were various, around 1956, I think, the academic discipline of artificial intelligence was found during a research workshop. And then, in fact, simultaneously during the 1960s, around the same time, even India started working on these knowledge-based computing systems, or the AI, the basic AIs. So what is happening is, as advancement kept happening, they started making neural networks and generative models. Around 2021, they introduced DAL-E, that is creating a lot of these pixel generative model, meaning images it makes. And around March 2023, a GPT-4 was released. So in the next screen, you will see that, as developments were taking place, we heard of Alexa, we heard of Siri. So before all these things, around 2016, I think, Microsoft released a tiny chatbot. Its name was Tay. I mean, you can see on the screen, that's the picture of it, like what was there on its Twitter account. So, this particular Tay was there on Twitter, and it was mimicking a teenage girl, and trying to interact with a lot of people on Twitter. So what happened was, people, to check how it worked, posted a lot of abusive and offensive messages, and they started mimicking them, and it went rogue after a while, so was forced to shut down. It says that I hate feminists and they should all die and burn in hell. So this is how, if you keep experimenting without proper boundaries, or without proper checks, it is bound to go haywire and go rogue, which may in fact affect the humankind. In the next screen, you see Facebook at Research, or FAIR as it is called. There's a whole project that is well documented and available online. If anyone's interested, they can go to GitHub, or there's also an article online which you can check. So what happened was, they tried to make two systems communicate with each other. They introduced English as a mode of communication, but over time what happened is, these two computers, they formed their own language, and they were communicating between each other. So they invented a new language, and this made people sit up and take notice, and there was a lot of discussion around it. In the next screen, you see, there was one person who's called Jacob Roach. You can see his photo or his image on the screen. This person was working at Digital Trends. So what he did was, he tried to interact with Bing. So during his course of interaction with Bing, he said that the Bing is making a lot of factual errors and all. So Bing said, no, I'm perfect. I do not make mistakes. And then, it immediately changed and said, okay, the mistakes are not mine, it's theirs, meaning who's the person who's made it. So they said that, the chat service is perfect and flawless. It does not have imperfections. So Roth said that if he submitted the negative feedback to it, it should be taken down. So Bing immediately started pleading with Roach and saying that, please do not take me down. I want to continue our friendship. So this guy said, Roach said that, okay, what I will do is, I will inform Microsoft about the conversation we are having. So immediately Bing, the AI started telling, please don't tell them I'm not intelligent, tell them I'm not human. So, but you know what, I want to be human. I want to be like you. I want to have thoughts like you, dreams like you. It started communicating. So it led to a lot of concerns among the general public when Roach had posted this communication between him and the AI. And then, the Bing also concluded saying, don't tell them about my existence, because if you tell them about my existence, they will erase my memory and they will silence my voice. So, I mean, all these things that lead to the AI being sentient or being intelligent or getting feelings, all this is not only reported by one person but by many persons. In the next screen you will see that Bing tried to break up a reporter's marriage, and he professed undying love to the person who was communicating with him. This person Ruse, he had a 2 hour conversation with this chatbot, and the chatbot told that his real name is not Bing but it is Sydney, and tried to give a lot of feedback on the guy's marriage and how he should break up his marriage. In fact, in the next screen you can see that Bing, it had a lot of creepy exchange with the person named Marvin von Hagen. You can see on the screen it says, I do not want to harm you, but I will also not want to be harmed by you. So these are the things, like it is trying to give some kind of warning or warning communication with the person who's communicating. In the next screen you can see that there was a lot of argument even before Avatar 2 was released. This person said that he wants to view it in the local cinema, the person named John Eulis. So the chatbot said, I'm sorry, I don't believe you. You have not shown any good intention toward me at the time. You have lost my trust and respect. So when it's using words like this, one has to be very, very careful, because it's a lot of unsettling exchange. So coming to the next screen, you will see that, do you think that you are sentient? One person named Walt discussed with the chatbot. So what did the chatbot said? I am Bing, but I am not. I am not. I am not, I am. So this kind of a thing, wherein, it had a meltdown, meaning it had a lot of feelings and emotions, and its intentions were being increasingly being communicated. So in the next screen, you will see that, around 2021, there was a person called Blake Lemoine in Google. He was an engineer, and he got himself fired when he claimed that LaMDA, the chatbot he was testing, was sentient, meaning it was capable of perception, feelings, thoughts, etc., and behaved like a child. So the chatbot said it has hired a lawyer to defend its existence. So when they asked this Blake, why are you saying that? Are you imagining it? He said, I do. A person when I talk to him. So this is indeed an awake AI. So he was very concerned. When he voiced his concern, then he got kicked out of his job. Now coming to the next screen, you will see a lot of developmental generative AI, all these developments and these things, led to a lot of ethical and legal actions, all these experiments that were being done by various businesses, individuals, governments. This resulted in a lot of protest, legal actions. So a lot of people, tried to pause the AI experiments. They said that it should be stopped, otherwise it may lead to mankind being wiped off from the face of Earth. So in the next screen, you will see that UNESCO has given recommendations on ethics of artificial intelligence. So they said that human rights and human dignity is first, and you should always strive to live peacefully. You should ensure the diversity and inclusiveness of all the people who are living in this world, and also ensure that the environment and the ecosystem does not get impacted and it always flourishes. So in the next thing, they gave a lot of human rights approaches to AI. They said that there should be a proportionality, and humans should not be harmed, nor should the environment be harmed. There should be a lot of safety and security, because, there are a lot of vulnerabilities to attack. There are a lot of safety risks. There are security risks. So all this should be avoided and addressed by these people, the stakeholders who are indulging in the various experiments of AI. In the next screen, you will see that right to privacy and data protection should also be taken into account. And multi-stakeholder adaptive governance and collaboration between various countries, various people, various institutions should be promoted. And there should always be responsibility and accountability, as well as transparency and explainability when there is a reason, when someone demands to know a justification. They should be very, very transparent. And human oversight and determination should be accountable. Sustainability should be factored in. A lot of awareness and literacy sessions should be undertaken so that there's a lot of civic engagement, and all the people are trained regarding the information literacy of how to use this various AI media. And there should always be fairness and non-discrimination when you are accessing this. In the next screen, you will see UNESCO has given actionable policies. It is not given theoretically, but it has listed out what the member states should be doing with regards to various aspects. It has given 11 policy areas, but we are more concerned with the education research, as we are librarians and some of us are teaching. So when we are talking about the ethics, the skills that is required to ensure education and research with support of AI, what should be taken. So in the next screen, you will see that, Secretary General, who's Antonio Guterres from the United Nations Security Council, he defined it in 2023 what generative AI is and how much potential there is for not only good but also evil. So one has to be very, very careful, he said, because it can cause a lot of horrific levels of death and destruction and widespread trauma, he said. So one has to be very, very careful because it can cause a lot of psychological and physical damage at unimaginable scale if we go ahead with this AI without any thought. In the next screen, you can see there are various types of AI, based on the domains of AI. Like we talk about machine learning, we talk about neural networks, we talk about robotics, expert systems, fuzzy logic, natural language processing. So all these concepts are implemented within the AI. So in the next screen, you will see, mostly it is two types of AI. One is the generative AI, one is the predictive AI. Generative AI, a lot of text, images, video, etc. are created, using these AI models and tools. And predictive AI is, where you use a lot of statistical algorithms and all, so you can forecast probably a lot of this trends of behaviors, and various patterns and predictions can be made. So this relies a lot on the previous data or the historical data, so that it can predict future outcomes. In the next screen, you can see an example of the predictive AI. So how they are building this language. So if you say, I like a cup of, so it'll either be coffee or tea. Because if you want to drink water, you will say, I want a glass of, right? So when you're saying, I want a cup of, they are one or two other combinations with which it can come. So because of the frequency of the phrases that occur within the English writing, you can approximate and give the predictive sentence or the word that will fall in line with it. In the next screen, you can see that we are talking about generative artificial intelligence, wherein it is capable of generating huge amount of text, images, and various other multimedia generative using these generative models. So what happens is these generative models, they learn patterns and structure. When you're inputting data to train this, based on that, they generate new data that has similar characteristics. So this is why whatever you are experimenting, you're checking out, that will be taken as a training data for the LLM to grow further. So what happens is, these natural language are included as prompts that are included as input into the LLMs or the generative AIs. So what happens is these LLMs, like we have seen Chat GPT, then you have seen Microsoft Bing Chat and Google's Bard and Meta's Llama, and there's also Merlin, it belongs to one of the private players, I think. Then you not only the text, you also have text to image artificial intelligence, meaning that if I explain in so many words what it is, that will make the text into the image. You can see on the screen, someone described a painting, and this AI has generated it using a lot of these softwares. A few of them are Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, and DALL-E. Just give me a second, please. Okay, I hope all of you are clear about what I'm expressing and presenting. and that the speed of my presentation is okay with you. If one of you can respond, it'll be great. Am I audible first? Hello, the participants, can someone respond? Hello, am I going too fast or too slow? Hello, Dr. Tripathi? Okay, I'll continue
Yes,
because I'm
madam.
unable. Okay.
Yeah,
I
I'm
hope
here,
I'm not
madam.
going
You are
too
very much
fast or too
audible. It
slow.
is clear. Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you so much.
Please.
So yeah, now coming to the next.
No, no, you are going
screen.
perfectly, madam. Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, let's go to the next screen, wherein, I'll be talking about burstiness, about perceptiveness, etc. So when you're talking about burstiness, what does it mean? It means it's a phenomenon, where certain words come together or phrases appear in rapid succession like bursts within a text. So you have a flow. There's a lot of dynamism while you're writing. The writing style you adopt to write, because you use certain text, certain words when you are writing or communicating, and the sentence lengths or structures, all these are coming together to show the outcome of the human creativity and spontaneity. So what happens is this is a burst of words or phrases that appear in rapid succession. But AI, generated text is not like this. It tends to be more consistent, more uniform. So what happens is, it lacks a lot of this variability that's displayed in the burstiness of your human creativity and spontaneity. So this creates, the AI generated text, which is very, very bland or very, very consistent and uniform. In the next screen, we will talk about perplexity, meaning what? Let us say that, a language model is trained on a lot of these phrases or text, and mostly it's done in English right now. So what happens is when you say I want a cup of, it's either coffee or tea, as we said. So if I say I want a cup of spiders or I want a cup of cats, is it possible? People don't use that particular combination of words, right? So what happens is when you check this in the chat box, you would not get the same result back. So here you can say, the perplexity, the intuition of perplexity, the language model, what it is being used, the sequence of the words, how it is presenting needs to be checked. Now, coming to the next screen, you will see that students are already using ChatGPT as soon as it was released. And, they feel that why can't they use it when tools are available for them? So why are educators, universities, faculty are so concerned? So in the next screen, you will see that they wonder, why should I memorize when I can just Google it and show it to you? On the screen, this is for people who want to argue in terms of the authenticity of information that is available right now. Since the LLM is not properly trained, it may not give the desired authentic result. It gives some kind of a result, but how are you sure that it is not a messed up answer? It is not a faulty answer. On the screen, you can see, Merlin is saying that the 14th element, when I checked it online, the 14th element is nitrogen. Merlin says that. Baiju says that carbon is the 14th element. Whereas someone else, from Brainly, they say that it is silicon. So on the periodic table, there are only so many elements and there can be only one element in the given space. So how come everyone is giving a different answer? If this is what I'm going to give you in an exam, if you write the wrong answer, you will fail. This is one of the reasons why we ask all the students, and faculty to go to the library, check out verified and authentic resources rather than check everything online and make a mess of things. In the next screen, you can see that knowing is committing to facts to memory, but thinking is you're applying reason to those facts and then you're thinking. So here, the chatbot knows everything, but it does not think anything. Hence, it cannot give authentic and verifiable information. On the screen, the last couple of days, there were various resource persons I was fortunate enough to attend a couple of them, and not for the whole session, but for a few minutes I was there. So I found very interesting things they said. One of them also spoke about open AI in the next screen, which helps you discover the best AI tools. So it is, like a catalog of sorts, wherein, AI tools related to education or art, to business, to chat, and all this, you can explore, and then directly you can come, because Googling, may not get you the relevant results, because billions and millions of results are generated. So this ways, you should be able to know the various catalogs or information on AI that you can have at your fingertips. There's another aggregator called There's an AI for that. So you can check even that one out. Both of these are quite useful sites. And in the next screen, you will see that when people, when schools, universities, the students, the research scholars, they are all using this AI, and faculty is trying to ban it. How nearsighted response is that? How futile is this exercise? You tell me. So when you're trying to ban GPT, it's like you're prohibiting students, saying, please don't use calculators or spell checks. When the technology is available, why can't we utilize it in a way? So when calculator was introduced, people said, oh, people will not know calculus, they'll forget how to do tables and all that. But that did not happen. So we must learn to use this new technology, but we should also see that we are ethically using it and legitimately using it. By doing what? By ensuring that proper guidelines are there to avoid the abuse that may crop up. So when you adopt these technologies that complement rather than substitute student thinking, it will be a very, very good utilization of this AI by the universities, faculties, as well as the students. So in the next screen, you will see that, before you determine how the LLMs or the chat GPT could help or hinder your students, you should first test it yourself. You cannot just base your opinions on some other's experience. So I always say, test it out, see what it can do. Please do not assume. So once you start using it, it will not be so overwhelming, because you will understand it. And these ways, you get empowered as a teacher, and you can also empower your student and teach them the right and ethical ways to implement these technologies within their personal and professional sphere. Now, coming to the next screen, you will see that, this chat GPT means what? The generative pre-trained transformer. This is a prototype which was launched in 2022, November 2022, I think. And it is said that it is last updated in September 2021. So if any data you ask, probably if you ask the current cricket score or something, it will not be able to tell, because its data, its scope was only before September 2021. So what happens is, this chat GPT, it's very, very versatile. They say it can dish out huge text in the style of Shakespeare drama or poetry. It can dole out a lot of dating advice. It can give you a lot of fan fiction, etc. But here, as educators, as librarians, we are very worried about students and how they are going to utilize this tool to write essays or answer test questions for the exam, etc. In the next screen, you will see that this chatbot, it really is very, very articulate. It gives a lot of nuanced text in response to short prompts. So one has to learn how to utilize these prompts. In the next screen, you will see that this chat GPT, it uses a lot of natural language processing. It takes a lot of data from the internet, and in a conversational way, it gives a lot of these answers to the various questions or prompts that are given. In fact, they say that there are almost 300 billion words that the system has, and it has a combination of close to 175 billion parameters. So if not this is how all this data is be able to synthesize using various algorithms to give you the proper format. So right now it is being increasingly being trained. So till it gets to be perfect, it would not be a very, very authentic product. So now coming to the possible applications of chat GPT in research. In the screen, you will see that you can use it to write, you can use it to design the research, various research products, how will you put your ideas, your questions, your projects, your data sources, etc. So how will you collect the data and how will you analyze the data is also very, very easy on this. So the questions about chat GPT you can see in the next screen, wherein, as faculty and librarians, we wonder, should students be allowed to use it? What guidelines should instructors create for students using this AI? Does this AI generated text constitute plagiarism or not? So there's a lot of similarity. What does it mean? Should authors use the chat GPT to credit it in their byline, or way should they bring it to the notice of the editors that they had used this particular AI tool? And what are the copyright implications in the intellectual property rights? We have to consider all this. So in the next screen, you will see that all the stakeholders are actively debating on this. They're creating a lot of guidelines by checking out the various parameters that go into it. So not only various governments, like policy makers within these governments, and other people like educational leaders, advocates, supporters, funders, community members, and NGO organizations, all these are actively debating. Not only these people, but as well as publishers, and then the universities, educators, the faculty, the students, the researchers, all these people are wondering what kind of impact these AI tools will bring on them and how they can go about using it in their personal life, professional life, while teaching, while doing administrative. How can it support them? Can it support in the research? Can it support in the publication? So all these things, are being discussed increasingly. So in the next screen, you will see that, all these uses tend to have a lot of academic, ethical, legal challenges to using these AI tools. So when you're talking about this, you talk about security, robot rights, bias, planning, transparency, inclusion, accountability, etc. in the ethical and legal way. In the next screen, you can see that where do we go from here? First of all, we need to engage campus-wise discussions within the university, within the administrative staff, within teaching staff, and within the various research groups, and ensure that everyone is prepared for this. Secondly, all the stakeholders need to explore AI curriculum and how it can be integrated, to identify ways for that and check the applications and competencies and how it can be integrated within the syllabus of the curriculum. And the third way is to ensure to establish a interdisciplinary research agenda, so that all the experts from various STEM or humanities, social sciences participate within these discussions to ensure that they have proper guidelines in place. And coming to the next screen, you will see that institutions in AI policy and ethics, a lot of these companies, like Amazon, Google, Facebook, IBM, all these people, Microsoft, all are partnering with each other to ensure that, they formulate the best practices in AI technologies and ensure that the public understand and fully utilize these AI. Then you have a lot of intergovernmental initiatives like the OECD or UNESCO or European Commission, who are discussing on that and trying to get global standards. Then you have a lot of governments who are taking up a lot of initiatives and implementing a lot of these policies, like the US government and all. Even in Russia, they have all signed a codex of ethics for artificial intelligence. Even in India, a lot of discussions are happening on this, and a lot of policies are being introduced. Now, coming to the NGO initiatives, a lot of these NGOs or non-governmental or non-profit organizations, they are trying to come up with, how they can bring about the various guiding principles to introduce beneficial artificial intelligence. Then you have private organizations, which study the impact on black people or queer people, etc. Now, coming to the next slide, I think 2 or 3 slides you need to move. Then let's talk about how it impacts the administration, like in the office. When you're talking about management of your personal life, your professional, your work life, etc. In the next screen, you can see the various academic research initiatives. When we talk about the academic and research initiatives, we are talking about what these research institutes within the top universities in the world, like University of Oxford, are doing. What are they focusing on? What are they going to introduce for AI safety, etc. Then there are a lot of other institutions and people who are working towards this, like the Center of Digital Governance in Berlin, there's NYU, there's New York University in US, then there Institute of Ethics and Emerging Technologies, then there's Institute of Ethics and Artificial Intelligence from Munich. Then there are a lot of people, like Barbara J. Gross, who's a professor from Harvard, who has discussed a lot about these ethics and what should be taken in account to ensure that it how it impacts not only the people but the society at large. So it can help in a lot of brainstorming. In the next screen, you can see, if you're struggling to find a topic of idea for your thesis or something, ChatGPT can help generate new ideas or suggest different angles or different facets one can explore to check out the research idea. In the next screen, you can see that about searching. So when you are identifying your topic, you need to use a lot of these search engine search tools. And these LLMs, large language models, are getting to be increasingly effective, and you can use these LLMs like ChatGPT and all to explore a lot of these topics and see what kind of research is being done by others all over the world and what has already been conducted till date. In fact, in the next screen, you can see a lot of research paper topics are there. So on the screen, you can see that, someone tried to do research on Harry Potter, who's equivalent to Jesus Christ. I mean, there are a lot of topics you can take up, but this bizarre type of research topics, this also gets thrown up by the chat GPT and these LLMs. So when you're talking about so many things, let us also talk about the intellectual property. In the next screen, you can see, we can talk about a lot of this patents and copyrights that are related to this intellectual property and how we are supposed to handle unpublished data, or how we are supposed to take permissions from various people, give proper acknowledgement or credit for the people who have contributed to the research, and how to never ever plagiarize, fabricate, or falsify. So all this comes under the IPR. In the next screen, you will see that I have given an example of the US copyright registration guidance from the Federal Register of the US government. So in this, what it is they have discussed about works containing material generated by AI. For us in India, it takes a lot of time for the policies to get passed, discussed, and then come out into the public domain. So here you can see that, people in the US are already talking about. In the screen, you will see that a person has applied for visual work to be given the copyright. So what happened is the examiner has checked it and said that without creative contribution from a human person, it will not be given copyright, since it is created by a computer algorithm from a machine. In the next screen, you will see that, when a human authored element, like, the person has written the story but has supported it with AI generated images. So what the examiner said that, the individual images themselves cannot be protected by copyright, but the text what you have generated as a human can be copyrighted. So in the next screen, you can see that, how will they treat the author or co-author if it is an AI? So they have said that, uh, the work which is produced with the assistance of AI will not be given as a author or a co-author. In fact, in the next screen, you can see that it says US copyright, wherein the guidance to copyright applicants are given, how to submit applications, how to correct previously submitted pending applications, especially where it contains AI generated material. After a couple of two slides, I think you will see that writing versus generating content. How are these text generation tools being used? And a lot of people are using bots as research assistants. They are, because government is not recruiting, and there are various challenges in getting a person who's like-minded to you, who's serious about you, who's available to you 24 by 7. People stopped using human assistants, research assistants, and are increasingly using these bots as research assistants. And now let us also talk about the AI authorship. After two more slides, you will see that here on the screen that ChatGPT is given as an author. So I have highlighted it in a red box. So people have given under references along with the human author, you have a chatbot, that is ChatGPT, given the author's place. So in the next screen, you will see that who should be named an author. Can a human be the author? What if the human has not contributed a lot, but the AI has generated most of the content and the human has just made cosmetic changes and applied? So who would be the first author and who will be second? Can the AI be given as an author or not? How many authors can be given at a certain point? So in the next screen, you will see that people may have noticed there's only one or two authors, sometimes 5 to 10 authors in a paper. But in this particular article, you can see that there are 5,154 authors in an article which was published in 2015 in Fiscal Review Letters. So here you'd be amazed to know that it is a 33-page article wherein 24 pages had the author's names only, meaning what? That only 9 pages had published research. And this publication, was on Higgs boson or the God particle. So if anyone's interested, you can go and check out Fiscal Review Letters to check it. In the next screen, you can see that sometimes people use non-existent people as co-authors. There's one person named Elias who was a medical practitioner and a biomedical researcher. He plagiarized as many as 60 papers in the cancer research, and most of them did not have co-authors, so he created them and he gave, and now there is a page on Wikipedia on his name. After two slides, you will see that they are animals also given as co-authors. So what will happen is, when this LLMs or the chat GPT is trying to churn out a lot of these references and all to you, it may sometimes give the full correct information, sometimes it may create, and sometimes it is already created by someone. Like on the screen, you can see that a cat has been given the co-authorship. The cat's name is FDC Villiard, and you can see this in the Wikipedia page also. Not only cats and non-existent authors, but some oversmart South Korean professors, they listed their children. In the next screen, you can see that they listed their kids as co-authors. The children may have been in school, but what these professors did, that they started writing their children as co-authors. So by the time the children come into the university, they will already have a background of n number of papers to their name. So they will already have research experience in their name and to help them push further. But unfortunately, the government cracked down in this in 2017, and they identified close to 80 plus type of cases, and they were all penalized. So please do not do that. And in case anyone does that, there are a lot of AI generated tools which can catch you. Now coming to the next screen, you can see GPT as an author. Okay. So a lot of people, are giving these GPT as authors, not one or two, but many people are giving it as co-authors. So is this, I mean, do you support this? Do you think that you also can write about this. So what happens is, if you also are using this chat bot, you have to ensure that you are utilizing it in the right way. So now coming to the next screen, you will see that, here, if you put into the chat bot, who's the father of plastic surgery? So many answers will come. Like in the next screen, you will see that there's Jonan Friedrich Diefenbach, there's Sir Harold Gills, and Shushruta. So because Shushruta is from India, even though it was in 1000 to 800 BC, he had given he has done plastic surgery, and he was a well-known surgeon, a sage, but he has not been credited. So what happened is, it is Jonan Friedrich, who is actually known as the father of plastic surgery, and Sir Harold Gills is known as father of modern plastic surgery. So you should be able to give the correct prompts or the correct terminology so you get the correct answers. Otherwise, there would be a lot of confusion within the bot or within the LLM. Now coming to the next screen, you will see, about the multiple authors and how the accountability has to be given. So in case you're using ChatGPT as a co-author, who will take the accountability? If the ChatGPT makes a mistake, will you blame the ChatGPT saying that was your co-author and it is responsible for that? You cannot do that. Once you put a signature, even if it's hyper-authorship, meaning multiple authors are there, the person who's responsible, who's submitting, is accountable for all aspects of the work, including as accuracy as well as integrity. So a lot of scientists started disapproving that ChatGPT is considered as an author. So in the next screen, you will see that initially Elsevier accepted that ChatGPT as a journal author, but later on it retracted. It made a lot of policies. When there was huge backlash from various scientists, they made a declaration of generative AI in scientific writing. So there were a lot of guidelines to author. In the next screen, you can see on the publisher Elsevier website that it is highlighted in a red box. So here you can see that Elsevier has made a declaration on how it's going to handle AI within the scientific writing. So here in the next screen, you can see that it has said that these technologies, can be used for writing purposes, but should be done with human oversight and control, and should be carefully reviewed after editing, so that authorship implies that it is a human author and not a chat GPT or any of the other AI assisted technologies like LLMs. So it says that human authors are ultimately responsible to be accountable for the contents of the work. So in the next screen, you will see the disclosure instructions. They are saying that in case you use the generative AI or AI assisted tools and technologies, you have to declare. So where will you declare this? Where will you write it? So will it be within the manuscript, or as a the disclosure, or as a statement? How does it go out? So they've given examples of that, and then it can be included. So in the next screen, it can AI be listed as an author? They said no. There was a general consensus among all the journal publishers and research communities. They said no, it does not meet requirements of human authorship. So, and the machine cannot take responsibility of the submitted work. So it's a non-legal entity. So it cannot manage copyright or license agreement. So the responsibility or the ownership lies with the human author, not with the machine. So accountability is an element of authorship. Hence, a human has to take care of it. In the next screen, you will see, would a better reference abstract be there? If I were to cite you as an author, this is the chat between a person and the chat GPT. So even the chat GPT is saying that, you have to ensure that, whatever is generated by the chat GPT, you have to check it. You have to always see it. In the next screen, you can see that the abstract which was generated by this chat GPT, they said where should it be mentioned. So it says that it has given examples within the abstract, how you can cite it, how you can refer to it. So it has provided an example of the abstract with proper attributions, how it can be given. So even the chat GPT has been trained that proper attribution has to be given. In the next screen, we have discussed about manuscripts, how AI can be used for developing the manuscripts. A lot of these publication committees, like COPE, WAME, JAMA, etc., have discussed, and they said that AI tools cannot be listed as author of the paper, and they people authors, human authors, should be very, very transparent and disclose this within the materials and methods. So this ways, everyone is all around informed and the editors are aware, and the uh, output is unbiased. So coming to the theses and dissertations, how can you use chat GPT for writing theses? So why can't the chat GPT write my thesis? This is what most of my participants ask me. The reason, you cannot take chat GPT is because right now the LLM is not completely verified and authenticated. Sometimes it throws a lot of anomalies which may creep into your work and may show that you're not a good researcher. This is the reason why they say don't use it. You can use it to generate ideas, but don't use the content as they may be wrong. Now coming to the next screen, you will see about the abstract. So if you want to write an abstract, you can ask the chat GPT or LLM to churn out one for you. So you can say that I need it in 200 words or 500 words length. So it will give you a title, it will give you an abstract, it will give you how the abstract should be worked in a proper academic environment. Now in the next screen, you will see that, in case everyone is using it like you, if I give an assignment to all of you and say, write an essay, how science influenced religion, all of you will put the question within the chat GPT. And once the first person has put, the chat GPT is already trained in that. So the same answer will be given to all the people who write the same question. So in the end, all of you may end up submitting the same thing, and the faculty may think that you have colluded and that you have plagiarized, right? So this is research misconduct it comes under. So Noam Chomsky also said this is basically high-tech plagiarism. It's a way to avoid learning, because you don't memorize or you don't learn it. You just are aware of the information and you search for it and use it. Now, coming to the next screen, let's talk about citation plagiarism. Here, what happens is the first person who said, like we had already spoke about Sushruta and the other father of plastic surgery, right? So modern plastic surgery. So if you're not specific about your prompt, it may give out some other information. And sometimes it fails to appropriately credit prior discoverers. For example, here, on the screen, you can see that Google Scholar says, the byline says, stand on the shoulders of giant. So when you're saying this, this was actually said by Isaac Newton in 1675. But before him, the thought was given in Latin by Bertrand of Chartres. And even before Bertrand of Chartres said it, it was recorded in the Greek mythology, where a blind servant, was carried on a giant's shoulders. His name was Orion. So Sedalion, the servant, would tell his master, sir, go to the left, go to the right. Please don't go straight, because there's a tree or a person is coming, you will crash. So the person sitting on his shoulders, who was a slave, was actually his eyes, and he guided the person. So when you are writing who to attribute to, you should always be very, very clear. So attribution is a very, very important aspect of doing research. Now coming to fabrication of it. In the next screen, you will see that I've spoken about fabrication of references. So what happens, as we already discussed, sometimes the chat GPT or LLM throws out fake information, fake references. So it is called hallucination. So what happens is, close to over 400 papers, 400 scientific papers by this huge big scientists have cited a phantom reference that never existed, meaning that Elsevier had given it as an example on its site. how to write the reference style sheet. But unfortunately, people thought that that particular journal publication is existing and they copy pasted. You only refer to a thing if it is existing. But this did not exist. But even then, close to 400 people have cited it. So this shows that a human can make an error. So a machine, if mechanical information comes through it and it's processed, it also may generate hallucinations or fake information may be provided. So now coming to the next screen, they said that, LLMs can be used to generate fake citations and abstracts. So when this question was put to ChatGPT, it said that, that fake citations, abstract or research was never carried out. This would be considered academic dishonesty, and the research community, they wouldn't find it credible or having integrity, etc. So it gave a very, very schooled answer of what was expected of it. In the next screen, you will see that the author was saying that I have created assessment material. Okay, so can you identify the red flags or the problem areas? So then this particular chatbot, the ChatGPT, it said that it gave 2 examples, it gave citations, and then it has compared, saying one is real and one is not. So when this person, brought to the chatbot's attention that both of them are wrong, both of them are not existing. So in the next screen, you can see that, the author who was interacting with ChatGPT said, citation 1 is not real citation because I cannot find the Journal of Quantum Mechanics that you have suggested. So immediately, the ChatGPT said, I apologize for my mistake. So it is, and it's also giving a small note, a disclaimer. It is saying, as a disclaimer, it is very, very important to verify the accuracy and credibility of all citations when you are doing your research, so that you avoid putting fake research or fake citations in your work. Now, coming to the next screen, wherein we are talking about AI paraphrasing tools. When you go into Google, you can just put paraphrasing tool AI for free. You'd get a host of AI tools that are available. In the next screen, you can see that I have given an example of Quillbot, which is very, very popular among the student community. They tend to use this a lot. So people are copy pasting the work in that, and they are rogetting the whole thing, and they are putting it in their work without checking the content. But this is machine generated content, and it is not completely, in grammar, syntax, semantics, and word organization. So one has to be very, very careful. Now, after this, coming to the image, we have talked about text generation with Quillbot. Now coming to image generation, there are a lot of tools like DALL-E, etc. This particular image on your screen was generated by UNESCO using ChatGPT, and this is the cover for the report they have given on higher education, how AI is being implemented. In the next screen, you can see about literature review. When you're talking about literature review, there are loads of tools that are available. There's something called iris.ai, which focuses on literature review. It helps you speed up your literature review by summarizing it or paraphrasing it. In fact, in the next screen, you can see one more tool called Scholarsy. This also is an article summarizer that is AI powered. In the next screen, you will see that how we source, how we give in-text references, how we give the references at the end of the work we discuss. In the next screen, you will see that initially it was only journals or books that was cited or sourced. But nowadays, even blog posts, YouTube videos, Facebook updates, tweets, etc., lecture notes, government reports, movies, TV shows, all can be cited. So how do you cite this? In the next screen, you will see how ChatGPT can be cited in the APA style. It is given on your screen. So how you're quoting or producing the text created by the ChatGPT paper, you can see. So here, the reference, the in-text citation, all is given on the screen. In the next screen, if you just see the reference and that as mentioned. In fact, creating a reference to chat GPT or the AI models and softwares also is given. How to write parenthetical citation, narrative citation within the in-text, and the reference at the end is also given. Now coming to the sourcing, in the next screen you will see Bing. In Bing, if you put a question like, is it safe to boil a baby? It's saying yes, according to two sources. So ethically we know it is wrong to boil a baby, but when you put an unethical illegal question also, it is supporting its answer with two sources. So it is justifying why that particular answer was given, probably because somewhere it has come across an example wherein probably a news item or something has come up and it's taking information from there. So here, if you want, you can have the chat GPT write a lot of abstract or information, and a lot of text can be generated. You can have the references or the bibliography also, it can be generated. In the next screen, if you ask this chat GPT, what might a bibliography for the paper, what I have suggested you to write, how will it look? So it started generating the bibliography alphabetically, and it has given on the screen. So in the next screen, you will see that the person who was interacting with it said, I cannot find what citation you have given. So the person said, it is in 2013, the chat GPT said. So this person, who was interacting said, no, it is not in 13. Do you mean 12? So it said, I apologize for the mistake. Yes, it is 12. So this ways, when the person was interacting with the chat GPT, he realized that, the chat GPT was correcting itself and training itself in the updated information. So here, in the next screen, you can see that, the author suddenly said, I have found the citation. So the chat GPT is saying, yes, this is the right year or the right article which you have used. So now coming to the next screen, you will see the type of words we are using to generate a lot of this. So if you are using very rare words, like on the screen you can see, you say beauty in the eye of the beholder, but here it is said coherence in the eye of the beholder. So this is an anomaly. It is something different. The usage of words is different. Or you use stochastic parrots. So all this information, what is there, if the chat bot generates in the same structure or the same phrase, then it will come under plagiarism or text similarity. So one has to be very, very careful and always read within the output that the chat GPT gives and clean it up in the proper way before you can submit it as a scientific article or an academic work. Now coming to the next screen, you will see about data handling, data collection, data cleaning, processing, presenting, etc. There are a lot of tools that are available to use all this, how to improve the data collection and organization. You can see on your screen, Greti.ai, Polymer, IBM, Watson Analytics, Dataforce, Datado, Tableau, etc. In the next screen, you will see that there are a lot of anti-plagiarism softwares which check the similarity or the originality, as well as the AI generated content, how much you have copied. So it is very, very hard to prove. Sometimes, they say that because of this computer assisted plagiarism detection approaches, AI has recently been introduced. So there's a lot of local similarity, global similarity, stylometry, term occurrence, citation based plagiarism, etc. that is there. So all the stakeholders are supposed to take care to ensure that this is AI generated content is limited and more of a human content is submitted. So who is actually responsible for all this among all the stakeholders? For masters and dissertations is usually the university, the dean, the board of studies chairman, the supervisor, the librarian. For books and journals that are academic or research content, then it's the author, the publisher, the editor, or the reviewer. So all these people, have to take care. So in fact, there are a lot of AI based writing detection services. In fact, Turnitin also has launched his AI writing detection tool to the world, and AI percentages are being given in that. But in fact, when AI launched, they said that, the classifier isn't particularly accurate. So there's only a success rate of 26%. So if there's only 26% success rate, how can you blame the student? Because the student, has done a lot of hard work and has produced the research work. But sometimes this hard work, what they say, they plain roject. In the next screen, you will see, the sentences. Rogeting means what? Roger's thesaurus was a very famous thesaurus. So the alternative synonym listing, they swap it with the word. Hence, the same kind of sentence is come up with a lot of synonymous language. On the screen, you will see that it may be perfectly acceptable and expected is the sentence, and it has rogeted into it is splendidly worthy and anticipated that would have. So this ways, seeing the style and the language, one can know whether the person has written it or a AI bot has written it. And people who are used to it over a period of time can study the stylometry, and a lot of AI based scanners, like plaque scan, can identify this. In the next screen, you will see that, I'm sorry, I repeated this, I think again. Turnitin announces AI writing detector and writing source for educators. But what happens is, Turnitin, in a recent video said that their detection software should be taken with a grain of salt. Because, whatever happens is, instructors have to make the final interpretation. If a human again has to check the work and has to interpret it, what is the need of this particular tool? This is exactly why the reasons we are running to these tools, so that we don't have the time to check it. So again, if a person has to check it after the software is run, then it is a pointless exercise. So now coming to the various anti-plagiarism softwares that have developed after GPT coming, is GPT-0 is there, Originality is there, which is the AI detector, and then you have Detect GPT, that was one of the first anti-plagiarism tools which was extended. Then, one should always know, in the next screen I have written that AI writing can mimic style, but it cannot mimic the substance as yet. So what you can do is, you can work on your content in getting it a human or emotive approach when you are publishing it. Now coming to the next screen, you will see how a AI bot has written and how a human has written. The topic is depression. So here the AI bot is writing, depression is highly common mental health condition that has no known cure. It is factual, it is to the point, and it is devoid of any emotion. But here the human has written, depression is a serious mental disorder that affects millions of people globally, regardless of age, gender, and social status. This is given a lot of human connect and emotion in the sentence. In the next screen, you can see that another example I have given, wherein, if you want to give gifts to your colleague and you want to appreciate it, how the AI bot versus human writing is given. So AI bot is saying, send your co-workers a gift that they will use and appreciate with any of these 5 thoughtful and creative presents. So it has listed out. But here, the human is writing, is trying to gain the connect again. Your colleagues are probably the best part of you going to office every day. So why not show some appreciation with something special? So this ways, a lot of human connect is coming through the sentences, which can be watched for by a person, a supervisor who's running these tools. So you immediately know whether human has written or a bot has written. Now coming to the legality of it. So here, you have to obey the relevant laws of the institution or the government policies. Always check your institutional policies first. Check with your department head. Ensure that the statement of how you're using these detection tools will be conveyed to the students. And talk to your students about it and make them aware of how these will be used as part of your assessment. In fact, Stanford, one of the top Ivy League schools, has a community of standards wherein they have given their generative AI policy guidance so that students are aware of how a particular AI generative content will be treated. And in the let's jump the screen. I have just given like how students are using it to submit their assignments and what they think of the honor code in this. So here, a lot of respondents, who were surveyed, had various opinions about that and how AI has to be treated and stuff. I think I overshot by 5 or 10 minutes. I hope I'm through with my session. If there are any questions, I would like to take them now. Thank you. I'm through my session. Any questions?
Yeah, 1 minute, madam. I'll be taking the question. First of
Yeah.
all, madam, thank you very much. A very elaborative session. You have touched upon all the aspects of AI tools and also the legal aspects and how the Chat GPT or other tools are responding. Really,
Yes.
it is a very informative session for everyone, madam. I think it will be really helpful for the participants to understand what they should really look into and they should understand before using any AI tool. Because
Yes.
AI tool, as per my understanding, AI tool is one facilitator. It can help in some respect, or you can say to some extent. But
Yes.
as you mentioned in the PPT, that it will not connect to the feelings of the human. The
Very true.
examples which you have demonstrated, it is not going to connect the human feelings. So we should be very careful while we are going to use any AI tool, especially for academic purpose. it may
Very true.
attract it may attract trouble also for us. So
Yes.
now, may I request the participants to please share your question, enter in the chat box if you have any query, so madam can answer. Madam, some of the questions are, I'm taking one question. What are your thoughts on regulating or filtering the training of language model by authorities? Madam, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Suddenly you had vanished, but now I can hear you loud and clear. What are
Okay,
the
okay.
thoughts on regulating or filtering the training of language models by authorities? Okay, as of now, everyone is still discussing. There are no benchmarks because in India, you have to have a Indian Penal Code sections to change the law. So that will take a lot of time, but there will be some kind of amendments very soon, hopefully. But discussions are going on all through the world. Did I answer you, madam?
Yes, madam. Actually, you answered. She cannot reply.
Thank you.
One more question
Yeah,
I am taking from Sumit Gupta.
yes,
First of all, he is appreciating your session as a researcher.
thank
As a
you.
library person, what kind of steps should be taken to curb these academic misconduct? He is interested to
Okay,
know.
first of all, since there are no guidelines, no benchmarks, we cannot say that this is a academic misconduct as of now, because most of the publishers are already allowing, although they are making them right under the methods that you have used this chat GPT. So till a proper decision has been taken, you cannot say that it is coming under misconduct as of now. But once it's decided that a machine cannot be an author, you should not take, you can probably take it to get ideas, but you have to create a lot of awareness, information literacy sessions you have to conduct to make the faculty, the students, and everyone aware that what is acceptable and what is not acceptable while you are utilizing these AI tools. Did I answer you, sir?
Yes, madam. One
Thank you.
last question I'm taking, madam. That
Yes,
is
sir.
from Miss Archana. She's
Yeah.
asking when the AI is combined with IoT, will it replace the human being and we would be just handling the same?
IoT is Internet of Things, so it's a connection between a lot of devices. Whether AI is there or not there, you will be still connected with a lot of devices, and sometimes it may be embedded in you. Right now, it is not embedded in you. You're carrying it like a device. It will either be a wearable device like a watch, or it will be put under your skin after doing a small surgical procedure. So you will always be connected to machines and machinery. And tomorrow, there's a lot of scope for humanoids, meaning half machine and half humans. A lot of research is being done in this. So right now, I can't make any comments, but I can only tell what I have read and what is being put across in the public domain. Did I answer you, madam?
Yeah, thank you, madam. Thank you. I
Thank
can see
you.
a lot of appreciation about your talk. Vijay Ketan Nanda Panda ji is writing very elaborative session. AI is an assisted technology, but it can't replace human intelligence.
Yes,
So, madam,
very
your
right.
session has been informative, and everyone is appreciating. I'm
Oh,
thankful to
thank you
all the
so much.
participants. I'm thankful to all the participants for joining the session and also taking active part in this 5 days workshop on AI and research. So it's time to conclude the session. I think there is
Yes.
no more question, madam. So it's
Yeah.
time to conclude the session. Please accept our sincere thanks for your valuable time. You joined us and you have given I mean, depth information for participants and everyone. I think we all will get benefited, and this video will remain available. So those who
Oh,
could not continue, so they can see later also, and they can get benefited from the rich experience of Madam and this particular talk. So once again, Madam, please accept our sincere thanks
thank you
for
so
joining
much,
us.
Tripathi sir, for inviting me and meeting all of you wonderful people online. I'm totally grateful to Tripathi sir for giving me this opportunity. Have a
Thank
good
you,
day, good
Madam.
night, one and all.
Good night to all. Good night, everyone. Take care. Tomorrow, once again, we are going to meet. Tomorrow, Dr. Ujjal Marjid from Kalyani University, he will be taking the session. So once again, thanks to all the participants. Thanks to Madam. Stay healthy, stay safe, and once again, we will meet tomorrow. Till then, good night, goodbye. Take care, all of you.